Hello, welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast. I am your host, Leverton, and this is Everything, a daily podcast where I literally review everything. Today's topic, the oh, it's back now. that's panicking when it stops, but it's going now, and my chair is creaking. Can you hear that? Yeah, so I'm talking about Red Dwarf. It's a British sci-fi sitcom. It's about this guy who, because he gets put in cryogenesis, like a suspended animation sort of thing, as a punishment for bringing a pregnant cat on board a ship, he survives a horrible accident that unleashes nuclear radiation inside of this ship. And there's a ship computer that sort of protects the guy for 3 million years and then wakes him up after 3 million years and then wakes up a hologram version of sort of his frenemy, more enemy than frenemy, his direct supervisor, and then the show also includes the descendant of the pregnant cat that he snuck on board. And it's really weird because there's only one cat. So, how can one cat, even if the cat is pregnant, produce an entirely different species? Because we'll just think about that logically, because the the cats would be having babies with their brothers and sisters, and eventually, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you have a certain amount of population that you need for a viable population, and the number is not two or one. I think it's like 20, maybe. You can do the math. But this show doesn't take itself very seriously. That's not the problem with it. I gave it 3 out of 10, by the way. The problem is, I really don't like sitcoms. I mean, a sitcom has to be a special kind of sitcom for me to enjoy it. It has to have a premise like The Good Place. Like, I like those kind of premises where, or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or Parks and Rec. Not, The Office I don't like very much, but generally, the problem with sitcoms is that the characters are horrible people, and that's what people laugh about in sitcoms. So if you think about Friends, they are generally horrible to each other. They're much worse than you would actually be to your real friends. And even in classic sort of, it's not really a sitcom, but a classic thing like The Golden Girls, they're horrible to each other as well. And so this series started at the time when sitcoms were all about being horrible to each other. So you have basically, what is the story of a guy who's lost in space all by himself, and he is completely horrible to his closest companion who, is not a great individual also, but you would think that they'd just sit there and have a conversation like, hey, we're going to be here a while. Let's maybe be nicer to each other. I don't know. But that's part of the premise of the show, is that the guy is there to be mean to keep him sane or something. I don't know. And another part of the show that is very strange is because of what's happening in the background of the show, things suddenly change without any reason. So there's a computer named Holly. Holly starts out as being a man, and then Holly is replaced because Holly was complaining. The actor was complaining, so he's replaced, and there's a female version of Holly. No one says why or anything. There's no explanation whatsoever. Yeah, it doesn't really have a lot of continuity, which you want in maybe not a sitcom, but you want, like, a sitcom should either reset to the conditions that were at the beginning of the sitcom, like The Simpsons, or it should have continuity where characters remember what happened. It shouldn't be like a combination of the both, but my primary reason why I don't like it is the horribleness of the characters to each other. It's just not cool, not nice. I don't like it. No es muy bueno. One thing that I do like, and I tried, I watched the first five. Like, the one good thing is it's a British sitcom, so there's like 10 episodes per season, so and they're half an hour, so it's a manageable thing to do, but I quit after the first four seasons, so maybe the later seasons get better, and clearly it does have a very devoted fan base, but one thing is that there's trivia, right, on IMDb, and I was reading a little bit, just, to see if there was something funny I could mention, and there is. I do like this character. There's Crichton, and I don't know why I liked him so much, but I like him because apparently the actor, he spent some time in Vancouver Island, and he's like, yes, I will give my character a Canadian accent. But the funny part is, in the trivia, they describe a Canadian accent as something like between, well, the actor describes it as between an American and a Scottish accent. I've never heard it described that way before. I like that description, but also I like how they had to actually describe what a Canadian accent sounded like to the interviewer because they did not know, which is great. I'm from Canada, by the way. I don't think I have a Canadian. I do have a Canadian accent, obviously, but I haven't lived in Canada for a very long time. So I think probably it sounds a bit old-fashioned now. All right, that's all. One thing I do recommend, instead of watching Red Dwarf, check out my podcast, Death by Disney, where I review Disney movies in a chronological order, and also I have another podcast with my son, the Everything and More, etc. podcast. Check both of them out. Bye-bye.